Welcome back to the Missing 411 podcast. Tonight, we're doing something unique. We are spanning 2 continents and 2 separate decades to examine a pair of chilling, complex encounters. One comes from the deep woods of Western Europe, and the other from a cursed farm in the American Midwest. These cases, though geographically distant, share a terrifying and consistent factor: the inexplicable, intelligent presence of the cryptid known simply as the Dogman. The critical question before us remains: what unseen, powerful mechanism is responsible for connecting these wildly disparate occurrences? As we've documented over decades of research into the 411 phenomena, when such clusters emerge, it suggests we are witnessing something far more complex than standard wildlife. The evidence points directly toward a catastrophic environmental failure, possibly involving a dimensional breach or a sustained nexus point of raw, aggressive paranormal activity. Our first case takes us back to the autumn of 1984, to an incredibly remote and heavily forested region of Western Germany, approximately an hour's drive from Cologne. Our witness, whom we'll call Jill, was nearly 12 years old at the time. It is crucial to note that the local ecosystem was supposedly tame. Wolves had been extinct here for over a century, leaving a vacuum of native large predators. Yet, this very isolation, this quietude, made the area a textbook target environment for something that was anything but native. Jill missed her last bus home and, needing to return quickly, she chose the unlit, winding shortcut through the woods, away from the main road. This transition point, the fragile boundary between the safety of human settlement and the complete blackness of the wild, is where these entities thrive. As she ran along the path, she was unwittingly adhering to a schedule set by something unseen, sprinting directly toward an intersection that was about to become a site of pure, physical horror. As she rounded a sharp bend near an old mill and a creek, she spotted a figure sitting by the roadside. Her initial thought was merely a large, stray dog. But the creature moved with a blurring, unnatural swiftness, covering the distance in mere seconds. Jill's every instinct screamed the truth. That was no dog. It was a powerful, silent, and immediate confirmation that her reality had fractured. The description Jill provides is a nightmare pulled directly from folklore. The creature was a massive hybrid, built like a massive black wolf but with the streamlined, aggressive structure of a huge Doberman. The eyes were perhaps the most chilling detail, a terrifying, alien amber color, which she described as a glass orb with a light shining from behind it. These eyes did not hold animal instinct. They held an unsettlingly cold, almost human-level intelligence. In the most shocking moment, the creature rose. It stood straight up on 2 legs, easily over 6 feet tall, its head straining the air above her. Its forepaws were not true paws, but elongated, finger-like appendages that terminated in sharp, slightly curved claws. The sight of this biologically impossible entity, looming and sentient, induced a moment of complete psychological and physical collapse. The terror deepened when Jill realized the creature in front was not fully focused on her. Its gaze kept flickering past her shoulder. She dared to turn her head and saw a second, larger Dogman standing silently in the dense tree-line, barely 10 feet away. This one was a true behemoth, estimated at over 7 feet, acting as a massive, dark sentinel. Jill was now officially surrounded, a lone, captive observer in an inexplicable, horrifying experimental scenario. In that moment of absolute panic, a piece of bizarre, ancient advice surfaced from her memory. Her deceased nanny, a woman who had seen true hardship as a refugee from old Russia, had told her, "When you're scared and when you're worried and when you're sad, start singing." This was not rational advice. It was folklore, a potential anti-dimensional defense. With her hands covering her face, Jill began to sing, pouring every ounce of raw, terrified human emotion into the sound. She waited for the massive creature to attack, but the blow never landed. The pure, unadulterated sound of human distress may have acted as a shockwave, a momentary disruption to the entity's predatory focus. When her desperate song finally subsided and she found the courage to look up, both creatures were gone. They had vanished with a chilling, total silence, exiting the scene with an impossible swiftness that defied physics. This uncanny stealth is a consistent marker of an entity that did not flee the scene, but simply phased out of our dimension. The consequences were devastating, immediately resulting in classic, debilitating post-traumatic stress disorder. Jill spent her childhood and young adulthood suffering nightmares, actively avoiding the woods, and carrying the profound, lonely burden of the secret for over 3 decades. This enforced silence and psychological isolation is often a calculated byproduct of these high-strangeness encounters. The local history also suggests this was a persistent hunting ground. Jill recalled a shocking mass livestock attack just 2 years prior, where a large flock of sheep was brutally killed and mutilated by an unknown predator. Despite local hunters being sent out, the non-native culprits were never definitively identified or found, strongly suggesting a secretive, opportunistic threat operating just beyond human view. But the most deeply disturbing detail involves her younger brother. He never knew the nanny, and Jill never told him about the Dogman, yet he confessed that he had recurring, frequent nightmares throughout his childhood. The dream featured a wolf chasing him, and in every single instance, his sister, Jill, was desperately trying to save him. This is powerful evidence of telepathic or energetic transference of trauma, where the psychic intensity of the Dogman encounter left an unseen, residual scar on the family unit. The phenomenon continued to shadow Jill into adulthood. In the 1990s, while walking with her boyfriend, she experienced a classic stalking scenario. Something unseen was relentlessly running through the dense brush right alongside them. Every time they stopped, it stopped. This intelligent, taunting harassment, often associated with aggressive Bigfoot or cryptid encounters, proves these entities are not random animals but are highly aware of and responsive to specific individuals. The German cluster, characterized by silent, intelligent entities, psychic attacks, and impossibly sudden exits, strongly suggests the Dogman is an aggressive entity that actively exploits localized dimensional rifts. We must now ask if this same dimensional vulnerability, or nexus point, exists on a seemingly random farm in the American Midwest. We now shift our focus to the Michigan farm, where our witness, Joe, had a cluster of 3 frightening Dogman encounters in 2016. The property is a perfect high-strangeness nexus, featuring dense woods, a spring-fed creek, and the darkest element of all, documented Indian burial grounds running along the southern woodline. This ancient ground acts as an anchor for the volatile energy that draws the bizarre. The history of the property confirms its ominous nature. Before Joe's grandfather purchased and quickly built the house in 1977, local farmers were reportedly deterred, describing an overwhelming bad vibe and a clear feeling that something was cursed there. They refused to farm on land they knew was ancient and sacred. This established historical avoidance is a critical 411 signpost, pointing to a location where the natural boundaries of reality have been compromised for generations. Joe's first sighting was a clear territorial warning. Late one snowy night, he saw a massive, gray and white creature on all fours with 2 red eyes, digging intensely right by the creek. Though Joe speculated it was caching food, the speed and size of the entity confirm it was a non-native, hyper-efficient predator making its presence known in the most aggressive way possible. The high strangeness immediately escalated. Joe's neighbor, Mr. J, was woken up at the classic abduction window of 2:38 a.m. by something tapping on his bedroom window, a common precursor to alien abduction. Yet, the aftermath was pure cryptid horror. He saw half a deer carcass outside, which was inexplicably gone by morning, leaving only massive, non-native paw prints that defied any conventional explanation. Joe also discovered compelling evidence of active occupation. Along the creek, he found structural signs often associated with Bigfoot or cryptid signage. A stick lookout and a woven, nest-like den built right into the ground. These constructions are not random. They are territorial markers showing that these powerful entities are actively residing in and monitoring the weakness in reality presented by the burial ground. The second encounter in February 2016 was a terrifying escalation. While walking the creek, the ambient noise of the woods went dead silent. A terrifying, immediate 411 signpost. Joe encountered a massive, 7.5-foot bipedal Dogman with a terrifying, massive head, and a sickening stench that combined putrid guts and wet dog. The creature stood up, and then performed a chilling act of intelligence. It pinned its ears back, like an enraged cat, signaling definite aggression and impatience. It then tore off into the thicket, moving at an impossible speed while remaining bipedal. This calculated, terrifying display confirmed that Joe was facing an opponent with sentience, intent, and overwhelming physical power. The third sighting confirmed the stalking. Joe was lured back to the creek by the same overpowering, rotting stench. He found an all-black dogman standing perfectly still, using a tree for cover, staring intensely at him. As Joe retreated, he was overcome with an undeniable feeling of being followed by a silent, intelligent entity, confirming he was now being hunted on his own land. These two clusters, Germany and Michigan, separated by distance and decades, share an undeniable pattern. The highly intelligent dogman, the ambient silence, the inexplicable psychic trauma, and the structural anomaly of the burial ground. We believe the unifying force is the dimensional rift theory. These creatures are predatory entities actively exploiting localized weaknesses in our reality's membrane. The dogman, with its intelligent, purposeful movements, may not be the ultimate hunter, but rather a terrifying biological drone or a monstrous guard dog serving an unseen, powerful force. The two sites are functioning as localized, active skinwalker-style nexuses, where multiple high-strangeness phenomena converge and the rules of the natural world are routinely violated. Jill's nanny's singing advice, a piece of ancient folk wisdom, may have functioned as a powerful dimensional disruptor. The sheer, raw sound of human emotion short-circuited the creature's predatory focus, causing it to momentarily lose its target and withdraw back through the rift it used to enter our space. The constant activity at the Michigan burial ground suggests a more permanent vulnerability. The time travel mystery aspects often reported in 411 cases, people vanishing and reappearing miles away, suggest the dogmen could be the mechanism. They cross the dimensional barrier, seize their target, and retreat back to their own hostile space, explaining the impossible speed and the clean disappearances. Jill and Joe's shared message to the audience is one of powerful recovery. Do not torture yourself by holding it in. These phenomena are real, and recognizing the true reality of the terror is the first, most crucial step toward overcoming the profound psychological damage that these interdimensional encounters inflict on the human psyche. The dogman is a creature that seems to be a key, terrifying component in certain missing 411 clusters. When you encounter one, you are not simply sharing the woods with a large animal. You are standing in a hostile nexus point where the laws of nature are suspended, and a predatory, hyper-intelligent entity has briefly crossed into our domain. If you ever find yourself in the woods, if the sound of the world suddenly vanishes, or if you catch the stench of something ancient and foul, remember these two incredible stories. Remember the terror of the German woods, the silent stalker, and the curse of the Michigan farm. Thank you for tuning in to the Missing 411 podcast. If you've had an encounter, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a detailed report. Your story is absolutely crucial to understanding this ongoing dimensional anomaly. Be safe out there, and remember, the darkness holds secrets far more sinister than simple shadows.